So I'm up. Thank you for the opportunity. I represent Vadvani Institute for Artificial Intelligence, and what I hope to do over the next 30 minutes or so is to provide some abstractions. While I'm at an AI conference, we'll speak less about AI and more about those abstractions, because when you're trying to build something for a country as large as India, your abstractions must be totally clear in your mind. And the talk is broken into 3 parts. So normally what I tell people, and I've not put it up on the slide, is please leave your egos outside, please introspect, and please chill. All of us get 78 years in life, so that's it, that's the story. So don't get overly hyper about anything. So we believe in the maxim of do, observe, learn. This is true about any applied field in the world. If you do not do, you will not learn. If you do not observe in an unbiased manner, you will not learn. Intrinsic expertise is the key to success in AI. There's a lot of hype. We can be discussing LoRa, distillation, LLM. That's like telling me when I see a socket on the wall describing Ohm's law and finding out, rho L by A, uska resistivity itna hai. Boss, I don't care. Should I put a heater into it or should I put a bulb into it? That's all I care. So your thinking has to be different, particularly when you work with the billions of people in India, and we'll come down to it. So what you'll see in the presentation is a set of abstractions, a quick set of examples so that you are aware that we do a lot of work. So a lot of my learning comes from that. I myself, just to give you a quick sense, I've been 40 years in the industry. I started when the Indian IT industry had less than 500 people. My mentor was the distinguished Mr. F.C. Kohli. And at 22, he sent me off to some country and I did something. So I've seen many generations of software. I've seen the transition from assembler programming to software engineering. I've seen computer-aided software engineering. I've seen frameworks. I've seen transition to pseudo-programming. I've seen the internet come in. I've seen the CRM, SCM era, everybody promising everything. And then I've participated in various transitions. I've probably written 10 million lines of code. So I'm a classic programmer. I'm a mechanical engineer. So you have one good thing. I don't write code where, in equivalent terms, if a sparrow sits on a bridge, it will not fall. My code will not break that easily because we're used to think in a different way. So first question, what is applied AI? So you've got research organizations and tech companies doing a lot of research. And then you've got the ecosystem. The ecosystem is the most important aspect of AI, which is unfortunately unstructured, aspirational, hype-ridden, excited, FOMO-oriented. So you've got a very bubbly thing happening on this side, and you've got a very staid set of people who are expecting, no, I need my data in this manner in order to do the research. There's somebody who needs to talk at both ends of the spectrum. That is called applied AI. Somebody who can do the translation from this real, noisy, exciting, complex world on one side, and the structured, systematic, scientific temper on the other side. And that translation and the effectiveness of the translation is the key to AI success, as it is for any applied technology. Ecosystem has multiple players. There are folks who are central and state governments. There are lots of partners. User archetype is very important in our world. You've got India and Bharat. India being a metaphor for the urbanized, digitized, well-read sets of people, all of you in this room and a lot of others. Bharat is a person who's holding a smartphone for the first time in their life. And your design paradigm for these 2 types of users has to be different. You cannot use the same feature-rich paradigm that you may use for an urban person, for a person who you're rolling out software to. For me, we roll out software to ASHA workers, to farmers. We roll it out where they literally are holding their most expensive piece of equipment in their hand for the first time. Therefore, the responsibility of everything they do falls on us. We cannot just say, well, they did it. There is no they did it, we did it. That means your design has to be totally different compared to what you would think in a market-driven environment. Of course, there are languages, cultures, and nuances. As I read, there are 122 languages, 19,000 dialects. You go everywhere, there's huge amount of change. So let's use a simple example. I want to build an LLM for something. So one way is to do it and think about it and do it. I'll give you a different way. Close your eyes. Find out the map of Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or Karnataka. Place your finger somewhere. Collect data. Walk 2 miles away. Collect data. Walk 5 miles away. Collect data. Applied AI is like that. Applied AI tries to reach to the end user as quickly as possible. Why? However much you may do research in a lab, by definition, when you create your first set of models, your data will be limited in scope. It will be restricted either in some dimension that you may want to look at, either in terms of geography, in terms of profiles. How much research do you want to do in subsetted data when the theory of AI says that you really will learn more when you increase it? So your design paradigm is release fast, collect data, and move ahead. Of course, there's varied access to technology in our world. So all the models have to be comfortable working in small devices. They have to work with very small footprints. You cannot assume you'll have internet. You'll have to sync it up. That entire world is given for us. Likewise, we believe one of the conditions of employment in my institute is you cannot complain. And the reason I say that is we get very used to saying we could not do something because XYZ reason. There is no XYZ reason. You have to solve it. You know this is difficult. You are here because of that. So I have modeled in the world. I have seen several technologies. I've worked all over the world. Nowhere is technology complete. Why? Think about it logically. In 1990s, the people who wrote technology wrote it with the tools that they had. In year 2000, some smart Alex will come and say, "Arey yaar, they didn't think anything." Tools are different. Techniques are different. 2010, again you'll go through that. Surprisingly, these technologies that have been embedded in organizations for a long period of time have one advantage, which is time. They have been used for a long period of time. They have experienced and rolled out, even though they're inadequate, even though we can comment on it, they've been there for a period of time. Then somebody will come and do realize this. As some of these technologies fade into the background, skills for that are also less. But technology is always a WIP. It's always work in progress. Data is work in progress. Analysis is work in progress. Processes are work in progress. So you have to learn how to work in a changing environment. You cannot assume a level of static simplicity. Does not exist. So a lot of people say, oh, I will do one AI thing and everything will work. This is not AI. AI is rifle shot problems. You will solve multiple problems in an ecosystem systematically, and slowly and steadily, the combined effect of all of them will improve the ecosystem. Particularly in the public space, this is extremely important to understand. And of course, as you know, trust, 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 trust. We have gone to people across India at various segments, at various income levels, at various levels of poverty. And the only thing they care about and should care about is whether you care about them. In fact, when we released our agriculture AI solution, we were excited. So usual, or a recall kitna hai, precision kitna hai, falana, dimka, everybody's excited. And people went to the field expecting, some amount of, I will teach them some AI and all this nice stuff. So the farmer comes and they have a dialogue. And the farmer says, Sahab, ye kya hai, samajh mein nahi aata hai. So our guys get seriously hassled. Academic profiles have this desire to, boss, if you don't understand, I have to teach you. So then the person says, लेकिन एक चीज अच्छा लगा, आपने हमारे बारे में सोचा. That's it. I told my team, you don't understand what a win this is. Build your and cultivate on that win. Don't worry about your precision recall, excitement, AUC curve, ROC curve, many falana. Don't worry about that. This is very important when you do applied AI. So what are our guiding principles? When you do it for India, deployment first. When I start a problem, I think of deployment. I don't think of AI. AI is the last thing I think about. I'll give you a problem today. Very interesting problem. One line problem, very precisely defined. Can you find out which dog on the street will bite you? It's an AI problem, boss. It's a perfect AI problem. There is no ambiguity in this. Can you design a system for it? Is it useful for people? How do you want to think about it? Deployment first. Now, if you go looking for German dogs in Düsseldorf, you may have a different answer. The reason I said it, we were boneheaded. We did a child weight estimation, and we started thinking we can do it in India by taking German babies. Then I told people, boss, what are you doing? Learn by doing. That is the only way you will learn. I don't want to use common metaphors, you will fail. It's not about, there's none of that. That's like saying, when I learn to drive a car, I will hit some 25 people and then I'll learn. That is not the way it happens. If you're perceptive about your learning, you will learn. And you will do. Market of one, spoken even earlier. I cannot overemphasize that. AI's ultimate nirvana is market of one. Proximal dialogue. So we're the only institute which has a significant presence in the government offices in India. And we're the only institute in 2023 that, thanks to the government of India, we made presentations on all G20. We represented ourselves as the government of India. In a big hall like this, the first stall was ours outside. No name, no Madhvani AI. All the countries came. And they looked at us and said, you don't look like government people. We said, don't worry about that. Look at the problem and the solution. Proximal dialogue. I call it interstitial spaces. You're aware, in cells or in atoms, there's a lot of interstitial space. So how do you work with the government? Two ways. One, get into a meeting with them. Two, when you know that the Joint Secretary will have about 6 minutes of time at 6 in the evening, you send a 22-year-old or 25-year-old kid who's about the age of that person's own child and make them walk in and say, sir, 5 minute बात करना है. 5 minute. हम ये कर रहे हैं. We need data like this. We have some problems like this. Can you please help? He said, हाँ कर दूंगा. Proximal dialogues. It's the backbone of human endeavor, not spoken about. You can get into a wonderful meeting, everybody has chai, samosa, all that, nothing will happen. You want to do work? You do work like that. Some of these senior people in the government will come and tell me, तुम्हारे लोग परेशान करके छोड़ दिए हैं. पूरा दिन they are after my life. I like it very much. ऐसे सर आपके बेटे बेटियों की तरह है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है सर? अच्छा है ना, काम तो आगे बढ़ रहा है. Handle noise. Noise in data. Noise in analysis, noise in problem definition, noise in your solution. Understand how to handle noise. Pay attention to noise. Don't think it is a side story. That is the main story. How do you build skills to handle noise? Emphasize problem, de-emphasize AI. If you're doing AI, don't talk about AI. Talk about the problem. So the dogs thing. What do you want me to say? I will do object segmentation. Who cares, boss? I want to know what are the characteristics of problem solving? What are you going to do? How are you going to think about it? If the dog runs fast, dog runs slow, foaming in the mouth, has a collar, big, small, problem. Greater problem definition means better ability. Same thing. Get your first model out there fast. Don't wait. Collect data. Be very humble. Tell them, boss, कुछ हमने great कुछ उखाड़ा नहीं है. Solution है. 50% रैंडम होता है, उससे बेटर है, 75 है, 90 है, 85 है, कुछ है। लेकिन अभी हम इसको बिल्ड करेंगे साथ में घूम के बिल्ड करेंगे। Manage risk. In the public sector and also spoken about earlier, but in all sectors, my personal belief is the next 2 to 3 years of AI, risk is what you need to manage. Don't aspire for all kinds of crazy things. Aspire for small gains, little gains. Don't try to get the full gold. You're not going to. You're going to face so many problems. So uncover the risks incrementally. Prescriptive versus feature-rich. Feature-rich applications have 6 radio buttons, 17 drop-downs. What do I want to do? Urban people, good. When you go to a rural sector, you have to give them a step-by-step instruction. Prescriptive means do this, take this video. हो गया? Only 2 options. हो गया? नहीं हुआ. That's it. Why? Prescriptive means I'm taking control like a doctor of your life. It transfers the responsibility of the usage of the application to me rather than you. And that's very critical in public AI, the AI that we release. Of course, you need to approach all problems both with scientific temper, which means you're not, a cowboy doing anything, and with humility. Because you're then saying, my solution is the best. You're never going to say that. You're going to say, I'll find out what's going on. I'll discover what's going on. And pay a lot of attention. I cannot overemphasize, be unbiased in thought. I don't worry about bias in data. Bias in data is a derivative. It's a Y, it's a dependent variable. The independent variable is the way we think. If I think that I don't, if I think men will be better engineers, then I will collect data, I will behave, I will dialogue with people based on that belief structure. So when data gets created over a period of time, remember, this is not today's data, it's 10 years, 15, 20 years. It is already containing the bias of human beings who have been thinking in a certain manner and behaving in a certain manner. The digital part of it is merely the imprint. The original root cause is the way you think. Solve that. And one of the most difficult things, especially for successful people, I have found even today, almost 99% of the people fall trapped to this. Use experience carefully. So let's look at, I'll use me as an example. I've been very successful. I've built multiple billion-dollar companies. So I walk in with a swagger saying, I know this whole thing, boss. I know, I've written a lot of code. I never do that. I have modeled my life like a heart surgeon. Each patient is different. Merely my skill of doing heart surgery does not mean that I can use my past thing and just apply it without thought on the current problem. Very big trap, because lots of people create mental models, that means structures, based on their success. It's a very humbling thing to realize you've got to throw it out of the window. तुम्हारा success छोड़ो यार, nobody wants to hear your stories. अभी का बता, समझ में आता है? एंड उसके डायलॉग में अगर आपने बहुत इंटेलिजेंटली और सेंसिटिवली बात किया तो आप जीतोगे. एआई में और भी मुश्किल है, because the patterns in AI as against rule-based systems which have a deterministic outcome, this always will have a small error rate. And as far as I'm concerned, even if it is 99.99999% accurate, what about that one person who got the wrong answer? So you have to think of that one person who got the wrong answer in the way you design your systems. So now I will do very fast, little bit. This is Vadvani AI, don't worry about Vadvani AI. So we've got all these equations with various departments. We've got it with agriculture, health, METI, various departments. Again, here I'll really rush through this very fast. I'll just stop on 1 or 2. So cough against TB, very interesting. We're looking for a signal of TB in a cough. What's the learning? We solved it beautifully in a facility setting. What does that mean? When people come into a facility setting, they feel, in a TB facility setting, they feel they already have TB. There it works very well. Why? The prevalence of TB there is 65%. Whereas the prevalence in the community is 0.03% or something of that noise. So when you took that solution, which you built beautifully, and took it out to community settings, you failed. And we failed. So here you need to get asymptomatic data with TB. So we're doing it slowly, state by state, collecting it, building the whole thought process behind that. Prediction of adverse TB outcomes. This is a very successful project. So when a patient has TB, one of the most important, or when a patient comes in for the first time and is diagnosed with TB, we need to assess whether this person will follow their medication or not. Because if they don't, 3 things can happen. 1, mortality. 2, spread of disease. 3, cost of treatment is several orders of magnitude high. So we built this on the database, and it's now rolling out pan-India. While we are very scared to say it, we do see mortality coming down. This takes time. We've been working on this for 3-4 years. We need to, because you need to see, a lot of the AI is the opportunity. Let me give you a simple example. I have given you Microsoft Word. Does that make you an author? It's just a tool. You have to write. And if you realize that, you realize how much of the AI depends on the effectiveness in which it is used. That is difficult because it's full of human beings. One of my earlier bosses used to very deridingly speak about human beings, saying carbon-filled, error-prone entities. I don't say that bad, but yeah, we are error-prone, and I suppose we are carbon-filled. Land probe assay, fairly straightforward solution, reads a lab report, very useful. Teleradiology, again, not that interesting. CDSS is interesting because of its scale. We do about 10 crore consultations per year using this platform. And what we have built is, we have built 2 things. Earlier somebody spoke about SNOMED. So we have started rolling out, and it's already rolled out, a systematic SNOMED-oriented collection of data, which is integrated into the government's application called eSanjeevani. And so the construct here is that there's a CHO, or a community health officer in HWC, which is a health and wellness center, who may have 6 months of nursing experience, and they interface with patients. And then there's a doctor sitting behind who will give the final diagnosis. Can you put AI in the middle to make the whole thing much easier? So solicit, using a dialogue, some questions. Here too, huge learning. We did it very well, but then we came to know that people don't like filling forms and all this, very painful process. So now we're building a voice-based interface to extract information from them to fill the form. Difficult problem, but we're working on it. Media disease surveillance, very interesting again. We look at literally 1 million+ articles across the media every day. It's a needle in a haystack problem. We try and extract the following. What is the name of the disease? Which location was it? How many people are affected? Is it new or did they die? And that information, running in an automated manner, is provided centrally to IDSP, Integrated Disease Surveillance Program. There's about 2,000 outbreaks that take place in India. We give them information on that very day for 300 to 500 of them. So, has an impact. What do we need to do next? We have moved it up. We need to push it back down, because center will make decisions immediately. Then it needs to go to the state. Then it needs to go to the district. But what we have done is reduce the latency time. Earlier what they would do, one person would say, they would read the newspaper, convert it to an email, send it. Day, 2 day, 3 day. Every 4 hours this runs. This is a very interesting construct for AI, because at an abstract level, this is another important aspect of AI that will emerge. It's not yet there. AI is still all about experimentation today. It should go into engineering. Design constructs should emerge. Reuse should emerge. I personally feel there'll be 20, 25 unique AI problems in this world. The rest of them will be copies of that. So what did we do here? We took a lot of data and we used the language of health to extract something. So then we modified it and we did the same thing. We used the language of agriculture to extract. So we called it News Monitoring System in Agriculture. It's rolled out to the entire agriculture. Even more interesting, and I say this because I'm probably the only one in this room who faithfully for the last several years gets up in the morning, turns on the TV and watches Doordarshan Republic Day. I put it on and I watch it. This time, in the Republic Day, there was a small mention. As usual, we're anonymous, but we know by the person who spoke saying, there was a Bal Puraskar, which is for kids to get an award. So they said, इस बार हमने बाल पुरस्कार किया और उसमें artificial intelligence का use हुआ है. That was us. We did the same thing. We identified 5,000 names of kids in India who could be potential for receiving Bal Puraskar and give it to the government. And they determined what made sense. Reuse. Massive flow of information. What can you extract? You can do women's security. You can do child security. You can do anything in this massive flow without doing things like surveillance and nothing. You can be totally social and just make it beneficial for people. That construct is very important for us to think. People beat me up. I call X-rays, MRI, I call them black and white images with squigglies in it. That's it. AI ke liye that is enough. I'm giving you something, it's got an aberrant pattern, you crack it, boss. Why do you worry about anything else? We did this interesting project with Rajasthan, silicosis, which is rolled out again. It won the national award. Again, we're anonymous. It won the national award just recently, September 4th, where they got an award for that project. The government did, and they richly deserve it. What's the problem statement there? X-ray costs 100 rupees. But if you take a photo of an X-ray, it's free. So we interpreted the photo of the X-ray. Deployment first. Most people will not think, boss, X-ray ka photo leke karo. That's the problem statement. AI assistance for frontline, this is in early stages, so I won't discuss it. This is an exciting problem, excellent problem. I really hope this will take off in a massive way. So you take a 5 to 10 second video of a baby, newborn baby, and you estimate its critical parameters, its weight, its length, its head circumference, chest circumference, arm circumference. It has a very low error rate. We've been working on this research problem for 4 years. We have cracked it. This is going to be very powerful, and it will get rolled out pan-India shortly. We're working in Goa, Daman and Diu. Huge advantage for ASHA worker. They normally carry a spring balance or a solstice with big equipment, nothing they need to carry. And then they put it in a register, then they come home, they have to put it, nothing they need to do. It's all integrated into the digital platform. And it will create longitudinal data over a period of time, and you can look at the baby. It's going to take some time because there are a lot of social impediments to success here. There's a certain behavior ASHA workers have or the communities have. Slowly and steadily, all the ASHA workers say, this is like nirvana for us. So people slowly, that's one of the other things. Don't be in a hurry. Fortunately, I'm not in the profit space. I don't need to be in a hurry. I don't have investors. I've been through all that in the past. So the construct right now is instead of billions of dollars, you just do billions of people. And for doing billions of people, you have to be very patient. You have to do it at that person you cannot snatch their independence. You cannot snatch their decision making. You have to work with them. You have to listen to them. And these are very critical skills that we build in the institute. Pregnancy risk certificate, I won't spoil. This we are releasing with AIMS. Education, again, a very exciting problem rolled out with the state of Gujarat. We're very grateful to them, which is to build foundational learning skills. So for kids in grade 2 to 8, how do you make sure that they speak the language very well? So AI then tells them which is the words they don't speak well, what they've missed out, rolled out to the entire state of Gujarat. 6 million students, and now we plan to roll it out pan-India systematically. Very powerful. I expect this to be a kind of very important, if done well, and we hope we can do it well, a huge foundational skill for all sections of society. So if you're a plumber in Sanjay Nagar, speaking Kannada, but you don't know how to speak the plumbing terms properly, you will get X amount of money. But if I can make you and teach you and give you passages of your normal dialogue, and over a period of time you start speaking things that is appropriate for the customer, you may make more money. Very direct linkage. We've also got an early warning system, again, not important. Agriculture, we've got a whole host of solutions. This is Pradhan Mantri's program. It's a grievance redressal system that we've built. It's fully functioning. This is something called Kisan Call Center, 25,000 calls per day. So we're building answers for them using classic LLM augmentation, using RAGs, etc. Agriculture news monitoring, what I spoke about earlier, it was kind of taken from there and put in here. So all of these are scaled. Pest and disease surveillance, we do it in the field of cotton. I'll just go over this quickly. Agri-AI we're collecting a lot of ground level data to start explaining things. Krishi DSS, we are doing crop classification, it's already in place. It's built in with MNCFC. Once they have it, it'll be scaled up. And that's pretty much it. So the idea was to give you the breadth. I had a choice. I took over this institute it's 27 months. I measure myself in months. And that's what we accomplished in 27 months. Not me, the entire institute. So I have a favorite. We are never constrained by opportunity. We are always constrained by expertise. So if you want to do AI, break the back of expertise. And it's a very personal thing, unfortunately. And that's why it's very difficult. And that's why I tell people you cannot complain about others. Because I have to be very good, or as best as I can be under the given circumstances. I'm also fallible. I also have a family. I also, sometimes goof off. Fortunately, I had a very good mentor in Mr. Kohli. I would work very hard and then I would tell him, sir, what tired hai? He said, movie dekh ke aana. I said, sir, company mein, अरे छोड़ ना, movie देख के आ, बोर हो रहा है, क्रिकेट जाके खेल, टाटास का आजाद मैदान में ग्राउंड है, रोज आफ्टरनून में जा क्रिकेट खेल के खेल के आ. I love environments like that because we are like that as human beings. We do goof off. We shouldn't establish arbitrary constraints on human beings which are very difficult and very ill-formed for us to live a normal life. So I always start with this. I always say new thoughts are created with the help of abstractions. Can you abstract well? It's very difficult. Excess intelligence, what it will do, no? If you go 1,000 feet above the ground, it will see two black dots. One of them is a water buffalo, one of them is a water tank. It will say, ये सब काला काला dots है ना, buffaloes है. Abstraction is very dangerous if it is not premised on grounded reality. But abstraction is needed for complex problem solving. Second, they represent conceptual underpinnings. I have found personally, if I get this, I'm done. If I can get people, if I can get my institute, they're very good people, make no mistake, but I always aspire to be far more. Not from an achievement, but from an intrinsic perspective. If I can get anybody in my institute and tell them, hey, come here, oh, problem hai, pura solve karke aa. Nirvana. Whereas we'll get into 77,000 meetings. Whereas all those meetings cause a destructive, distortive, disruptive, complex, ill-defined problem at the end, where you started with problem P1 and you are now saying it is, alpha 2a xy b. We don't address those things. And that's what you need to address if you're doing AI. Why? Because AI is complex. I'll come to a statement later, you'll see what I'm saying. I read this lovely book, Managers Not MBAs, by Mintzberg. He's a Canadian author. Naturally, the United States was not that excited when he wrote this book. It was a while ago. He wrote about this art, craft, and science. I think it's a lovely metaphor for everything we do. Science is the engineering, is the AIML, it's the experimentation, it's the formalism. Art is the creative thinking you can do around it. Craft is the doing. I'll give you an example. Any of us, including me, if we sit behind a potter's wheel, we can have, okay, just one more minute, we can have we can have a lot of engineering about what the structure needs to be of the material. We can also have lovely ideas. Ek baar bana ke to dikhao. That's craft. Since I have very little time, I'll just quickly introduce this. I won't discuss this. All of it has to do with materiality and ambiguity, the framework of AI thinking, and then I'll be done in about a minute. I'll only speak about the first piece, and that is the most important piece. You want to build expertise in AI, you need to be multidimensional. Think of the problem at the same time in a scientific, usable, reliable, accountable, domain-rich environment. Can you do it? That's the challenge in AI for scaling AI in India. That line is it. And I will end because they're telling me to end, so I'll end it. I won't do anything else. I'll just finish, and I think I'll just be done. And because time is up, I'll just stop. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very, very much.